Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk about dysfunctional families and friends. Okay, and friends. But first, I want to mention something that happened to me yesterday. It was very strange. I'm doing my videos out in my SUV like this because of the pandemic and stay at home. And inside is, with him working from home and the dogs and all that, it's just better for me to do it outdoors as it is, and I like to get outside. Okay, so I come out here and sit in my SUV with the air conditioner because it's Texas and summer, well, almost summer, and I know a lot of people have heat too, but I was sitting out here and I'd just gotten outside and just started, just got my SUV, just started making a video, and while I was just starting it, I heard something that sounded like water dripping inside the SUV. Okay, this is a new SUV. I got it May of last year. I don't even have, let's see, I had 2,806 miles on it. Yeah, and it's came, I think when we bought it was 100 and something. So I haven't driven it much with the pandemic and stay-at-home orders, mandates, whatever, and so just never had the chance I had planned on. Anyway, I'm sitting here and I hear this water dripping inside the SUV. And I look around, and there's no way, during the day, no way anybody was going to get in it because I make sure I lock it before, every time. It's a habit for me. So I still looked, looked behind me to see was there anybody, like a horror movie, but no. And I even got out. And I got out because I kept trying, and I would stop and I'd hear it again, and I'd try to start the video again, start part of it. It would happen again, like a drip, drip, drip noise, drip, 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 drip. So I thought maybe it was like something like a moth or fly or something was doing that, fluttering its wings up against the windows. Didn't see anything, and I was wondering how would it get in here anyway. But guess when I came out earlier in the day, but couldn't find it. Like I said, I got out, checked the back seat, even though I can see there the next seat behind me, and then the one behind that is where I put groceries and stuff. And I checked that. I went up the tailgate, the back, and checked all that. Nothing. I still do not know what that was. It was so weird. Drip, 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 drip. Inside, not outside. It was the beautiful day like today. Lots of sunshine, no rain, no clouds. Well, we have a little clouds today. But there was no rain. And I couldn't figure it out. But one thing I thought maybe, Adam said this. That it could have been something like I had the AC on. Well, first he said something like, it was hot out. The sun was out, and I turned on I get in, and it was just cooling down, but I said the sun wasn't out. It was like almost 8 o'clock p.m. And so no, and then he said this about maybe it was the air conditioner, something in the air conditioner, that dip, dip, drip, drip, drip sound, like I don't know, condensation or something, I don't know. So I don't think so. Okay, I had to pause there because a notice came up. Somebody was calling me. But anyway, so I don't know. I have no idea what that was. If it happens again, you're going to see me running out. I don't know. I don't get as frightened by stuff. I get more curious as I get older. But anyway, so now to get on to the topic about, if you've ever had anything like that, you have any clue, leave a comment below this video on YouTube, leave me a comment. So anyway, to get to the subject about dysfunctional families and friends, okay, I've done some videos about dysfunctional families and friends and in-laws and all of these things, and this one would focus more on the friends that you grew up with. Okay, friends that you grew up with. For some people, they don't have siblings, and their friends, it could be cousins too, something like that. somebody's kid, some other child, not in your family, not in by your parents, is your friend, or you might have several. So these people might play a very big role in your youth and when you're growing up, how you're seeing the world. And if you grew up in a dysfunctional family, it could be dysfunctional family. It could be like a dysfunctional school system that you go to, or the town environment. Just all around is dysfunctional. It's not the norm. That happens, believe me. And they might have very bad, ideology, very bad ideology. But anyway, your friends, you grow up, and whatever you're seeing as you grow up. Now, this was, for me, that was many years ago. I'm 57. I just turned 57 last week before. And, and back then, we didn't have that much information out there. You didn't have that access that we have today. We had 3 TV channels, and this kind of thing wasn't even on them, I don't recall ever. It wasn't in school. We didn't have any cell phones, any of those kinds of things, internet to check. So it wasn't something that was very well known. Okay, talked about dysfunctional families, unless you were like in that field, or, it just depended. But it wasn't that common. Today, anybody can just look it up. Bad families, or toxic families, toxic people, whatever you want, narcissistic families, whatever, and you can find a lot of information. Some of it might be wrong. Some is just opinion. I state mine as opinion, but my degrees are in psychology and sociology, and this is a focus of mine. And I taught at college and university. But, it just wasn't there. So when, especially people growing up then, and I can't say everybody, but they weren't that aware. The ones who weren't that aware, you grow up and that's all you know is how the families are dysfunctional. All you know is dysfunctional family, or dysfunctional, like I said, all the rest. So it's like that's the norm. In other words, that's your norm. You don't think else. You might not think that there's anything better unless you watch a bunch of TV, like Leave It to Beaver kind of thing, and think everything's beautiful. But even those shows, they always had, they always had some kind of controversy, any kind. Like even Hallmark, people think Hallmark Channel is all pink fuzzy bunnies and white fluffy clouds, but no, not necessarily. Books, Harlequin. When I was a kid, I used to read those. Yeah, you had the evil ones. So, but it just wasn't, like I'm trying to say, wasn't that well known as it is today. You can get so much information now. And if I had known then what I know now, yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to say, people who grew up like me, okay, they may have had this whole thing of, not having much awareness of what was going on, and that it was wrong. Okay, this dysfunctional ways of behaviors of families and so on. But as time has gone by, when you're young, you have to learn everything the first time. Everything that you're going to know later on, you had to learn it the first time. So the first time you were totally naive to it. And as you grow, you process, and you eventually gain wisdom, and from it, but not right off the bat. Don't expect anybody who's 20 to know everything that they need to know about dysfunctional, people, dysfunctional families, just narcissism, cluster Bs, all that. Everybody has to learn the first time, and so with the friends, you might not know these friends are these like cluster Bs, like the histrionic, the narcissistic, the borderline, the antisocial, which some would say psychopath, sociopath, some say it's not, but with these behaviors, I don't know about, I'm not saying diagnosing them, but the behaviors like a histrionic. The histrionic was the one that I saw most often, seriously, and they're very loud people. Okay, and it can be, it tends to be more female, or people think of it that way, but it can be male. And they're very loud in their voice. They're loud in their laughter. I call it cackling. And they're very loud with the way they wear. When they're younger, especially, they're more provocative. They're all of it. They're just loud. Seriously. Their bling, their jewel, all their jewelry, what they wear, they got a lot of bling on it. What is that term people call that? When you put those little, I don't know, but everything. And they're attention seekers. I call them attention sluts. They don't care what kind of attention it is, as long as they're getting it. Negative, positive, doesn't matter. They're loud voices, like in a restaurant. They're the ones who are really loud, and people, other diners are looking at your table saying, "Can y'all shut that person up?" And this type. Yeah. Okay, now some of them are like mean girls. Okay, like I said, they can be guys too, and really, if they're not center of attention and getting what they want, they'll be mean. They'll get the attention back on them, even if they have to do something really bad to get the attention back on them. It doesn't matter. They want that attention, and that's what I saw most of myself. But now, growing up, I didn't know any of these things about what a histrionic was, or what narcissism was, and so the people that I knew then, this might happen to other people when you grow up like I did, and you start learning more and more, and then there's more and more information out there to learn from, especially now. In the past, I don't know how many years, let's say at least 5 to 10, so much information. So you start to see, well, wait a minute, my family was this, that, and the other. My school system was really dysfunctional. My environment was very, dysfunctional. And so are my friends, okay? So are my friends. And you can see that this is rather common, that when you grow up in, say, a dysfunctional family, like I just said, you don't really know anything else outside of there. You don't know that there's good things. You don't know that there are functional people, that there are people who are not cluster Bs. They don't have those behaviors. You think that's norm. But as you age, like I'm saying, you start to learn, no, there's a world outside of there. Now, the people who are not, as you're aging, you're going to run across people who are not, but they might seem, especially if you're in the dating stage, they might seem dull and boring. Think about yourself. If you went through the dating and you wanted, like they have this thing that really bothers me. Guys will say, all the girls, all the women, they want the bad boys. That's not true, for one thing. And those nice guys who are saying that, those nice guys might turn out to be major control freaks. Seriously. They're just hiding their bad boy side. The bad boys, up front what they are. Don't go down that road. That excitement is what can get a person in trouble. And like me, growing up with histrionic people, they're very theatrical. Everything's a big drama. Everything's got so much excitement. They create calamities, and everything's a calamity. And oh my goodness, extraordinaire. Just somebody who's rather normal might be boring, because of what I'd seen. Other people might see that too. Okay, switch to this, to move on. Some people that grew up in this kind of dysfunction, they realize that at some point, maybe youth, and they get the heck out of Dodge. I did at age 18. I think it was the day after I turned 18. But the problem is they may still they don't have enough knowledge about what is different and what to watch out for. The red flags, the, flashing neon lights, as I called them back then. And, people who are going to turn out to be soul destroyers is what I also called them, and rather narcissistic and so forth. There wasn't that much knowledge out there. Now, I do want to say we did have names for, like ways names, terms, that kind of thing, for the types of people that were these ways. But it was, I don't know what you would call it. That nowadays, too many people just put it under dysfunctional or narcissistic, okay? That's piling too much under that narcissistic. Yeah, under that, as an umbrella. But, for example, back then, okay, say this kind of person, they move away from there, and as it happened to me, the people who played such a big role in my life for the first 18 years, Suddenly they were gone. Because I moved away, I didn't have the contact with them. But back then we didn't have cell phones and texting and all, emails and such. So we had to actually call one another on the phone or go and see one another, something like this. And no, they were just gone. Well, many times they couldn't come visit, but long distance, there was long distance charges too back then, which were usually high. Because I moved around lots of states. I was born and raised in Texas, and I moved around a lot for many, many years, and I saw the world. Just the United States, but several states, lived in them. But people, back then we wrote letters, okay? Yeah. And I would always wonder, why do my friends take them so long, to answer my letters? And, I just didn't know much about, like, the histrionics, like these cluster Bs, these toxic people kind of thing. And it is, as I figured out, it was that if I'm not there, they can't use me. They can't use me to get something out of me. So, something like that. So it's like, disposable people in a way, out of sight, out of mind. But anyway, we said these kinds of things about it. But there was more to it, a lot more. And, but I had wondered, it was like, wow, I was pretty bright and I could figure it out, but it was like, there's a part of you that doesn't want to believe it, that cognitive dissonance. I couldn't say that right. But yeah, well, this is fact, this is true, that, I don't hear from them, they don't call me, I'll call them, it's on my dime, long distance fee, but they want to just sit there and talk all about themselves and not listen to what's going on with me. The letters were all about what's going on with them, no question about how are you doing, nothing like that. And then you start to, bells start to ring. Now, these days, people just look up online and they can find the answer to that question. Back then, no, you had to figure things out yourself. Yeah. Okay, now I'm looking at my notes. I had written this a while back. There was a situation where an online friend, basically, it was, once there was some trouble in my life, the online friend just decided, this person has enough of their own troubles, so they don't have time for that. And that is something we called a fair weather friend. But a fair weather friend back then was more than just that. That they weren't there for you when you're in, but it was part of it. They weren't there for you when you were in need, but they wanted you to be there when they were in need. Let me look at my notes here. Like, they were only there when things were good in your life, or, and only there when they needed you. And in it, they would somehow blame the victim. Like you were the victim of them. Along like, well, you should have known better than what you did that got you into trouble or whatever. So they don't have time for that. You should have known better. But then, then they would come back, get back into your life and your good graces, and just so they could use you, later on, because you were one of the people they could use. So that, we used to call them users and abusers. So they'll make nice, but they're going to make sure at first they're going to blame you for whatever happened in your life, and even if it wasn't anything to do with you. Like, you can drive down the road, have a car accident, and it was somebody else's fault. But they would find a way to blame you. Well, you shouldn't have gone out that day. You know what I'm saying? That's the type they are. And, but then they come back, like I said, so they can use you again. And I also wrote down that these are the type that will go behind your back, and that's true. One of the things I think some people should consider is that the people who do these smear campaigns on you behind your back, I don't hear anybody talk. I hear people talk about smear campaigns behind your back, yes. But people who do it so they can have you as this type. Well, in a way, yeah, I've seen videos, I think I've done some. but they'll smear campaign you so the other people will go away from you, will not want to have anything to do with you, and that way that user can use you, continue to use you, and your whatever it is isn't siphoned off to other people. You see, like if they use you for money, nobody else can use you for money because they'll say bad things about you and they'll smear campaign you, and then people leave you alone. So they're isolating you. So, yeah, basically all I'm saying is, we didn't have that much information back then, and we do now. And I think the people who are growing up now, they're going to be much more informed. Unfortunately, it is turning into a much more narcissistic world, more toxic people, and all that. So that is, in a way, might become their norm, might become the norm for these younger generations. But I think the more younger ones right now, like the teenagers right now, they're I think they're turning to be not so narcissistic. They're not the selfie kind of people. They are thinking about others. So I think that's a really good thing, because it went way too far. You could hear people talk a lot about that being so narcissistic, so dysfunctional. But yeah, but anyway, also this was about the friends. If that had happened to you and you weren't certain, I think as people age, they start to realize this more and more, that these were never good people in the first place. As kids, say, the kids that were your friends in school, and you were real close to them all through school. Were they using you back then? It's not no reflection on you. I know too many people want to say it's a reflection. It's just that there wasn't that much information for you to be able to make a decision. So I'm not going to try to blame you. It's not your fault that you didn't have the information. It's not your fault if you made the wrong decision. It's that these people, they're bad. That's on them. But as we age, we start to see, and we do then make decisions for ourselves, that we can go no contact with the people we can go no contact with, and or some people just go low contact, and if you still have to deal with them, I still have to deal with some of the people, so I understand that you can't go total no contact. So but then we move on with our lives and get some counseling and for healing and what to recognize, and move on. Develop new friendships. But everybody wants to jump into something new, friendships or romance, whatever. That's not good. I'm speaking from experience. I can't say it would be bad for everybody. This is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing anyway. But yeah, I experienced that was another thing that we did hear when we were younger. Is if you're in a relationship, take some time away to get to know yourself. That was nothing. One of the only ones I heard along that line. But yeah. Anyway, I think I've done enough for this. I'm going to keep doing some videos on dysfunctional families and such, friends, environments, and so on. But if you want to subscribe, click that circle icon that pops up. If you want to watch another video, click one of those rectangles, or you can join the channel and see all the ones that are up. Talk to you on another video. Bye.